The following program contains explicit candor. If you suffer from self-deception, Randall may not be right for you. Check with your political advisor.
Proclaiming the truth in the highways and byways of the world. Fighting for justice in the dark alleys of politics. Raising the voice of resistance to a fevered pitch. The host who has no equal. He uses sweet and low. Randall Terry.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Voice of Resistance. It is I, your servant, Randall, with a new microphone. Check me out. Hands-free. That's what I'm talking about, baby. Oh, yeah. All right, all seriousness aside, we're going to talk to you today about the bill that has been introduced by Congressman Pence, House Resolution, House Bill number 217, about defunding Planned Parenthood. I'm excited that some steps are being taken, but I've got to be honest with you, I'm very disappointed with the bill. Give you some of the details and a civics lesson so that you understand exactly what we're facing, exactly what's coming down the pipe at us. But first, a word of profundity from this lunatic, Rusty Cowpoke. Fix your lip, dude.
Hey there. Listen up, come here. You heard it from me first. When Randall runs for presidency in 2012, he's gonna stir up such an awful big situation. When Randall's done showing the pictures of dead babies killed by abortion to these United States on primetime national television, I'm telling you, the baby killer's gonna cry like a wounded coyote. Ow!
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to today's program. I thought that it would be a little bit more of an intimate setting if I broadcasted to you with a bullhorn. Can you hear me over there? Hello? All right, never mind. House Bill 217. Yes, it's cold out here. By the way, before we go any further, we're going to start the fur coat fund. I need a fur coat. It is too cold out here. In fact, if I start to have little drainage from my nose, or if these guys do behind me, please look the other way. What I want you to do is go to terrycast.com. For those of you watching online, click on the donate button at terrycast.com for a fur coat, okay? What? Windy place. It's windy out here. It's cold out here. We need fur coats. We'll start with me because I'm the host. I'm the talent, and I need to be warm. All right, I'm going to take. Can I take this off? I'm going to take this off. Thank you, Gary. And I want to talk to you about this. Thanks, Andrew. I want to talk to you about HR 217. Hold it in my hand, right here. Introduced by Michael Pence a day or two ago. This bill has 122 co-sponsors, the last we heard. I'll be honest with you, all right? I have very mixed emotions about this bill. First of all, I'm glad for anything that would step up towards the plate and try and defund Planned Parenthood, all right? But there are such gaping holes in this that it's crumbs. Now, if you're starving to death and someone gives you crumbs, that's a good thing. It's better than nothing, right? But just admit it's crumbs. Just admit that it is crumbs. Don't pretend that it's caviar. Look, they're giving us filet mignon. Hooray for our new Congress. They're so awesome. They're so generous. No, not really. Here's what this bill will and won't do. Title 10 in the funding is where birth control is funded for the whole country. So before we go any further, let me tell you what you may or may not know. Hundreds of millions of dollars a year of your money is taken and given to various entities that distribute the pill, the condoms, beg your pardon for even saying about these things on television, that are giving birth control devices, ready, to minors, to kids in school, without their mom and dad knowing about it. Those of you who are parents sending your children to government schools, you need to know that your daughter can get the pill, your son or your daughter can get condoms free, thanks to our tax dollars. So when I looked at this bill, I thought, why don't they just defund Title X? Why don't they say the federal government is out of the birth control business? The federal government is no longer going to promote promiscuity. We're not going to promote fornication among kids. We're going to let parents be parents, and we're going to stop being the parental government that disperses the means for immorality to children. That's not in here, any manner, shape, or form. But beyond that, let's talk about what is in here. I'm not going to read every element of it. It's very short, by the way. You can go and find it online, all right? Look for it. It's H.R. 217, introduced by Congressman Pence, P-E-N-C-E. What it does is basically says this. Any organization that kills babies, provides abortions, cannot receive Title X funding. So what it's doing is it's targeting Planned Parenthood and other type offices where they actually kill babies. Okay? Planned Parenthood has hundreds and hundreds of offices, most of which actually do not kill babies. Okay? There are a lot of them that do kill children, but it's less than half. So what this is doing is saying, we're going to take a stab at the Planned Parenthoods around the country, including like a state organization that disperses it to a little organization. So this would have the effect of defunding most Planned Parenthoods, which is a good thing. But it says, number one, that if the pregnancy is the result of a rape or incest, then yes, you can kill that baby. Why do we kill the innocent for the crime of their father? Perhaps more disturbing is that this does not apply to hospitals. So Boston's Children's Hospital, they kill babies there, okay? And this bill specifically says hospitals are exempt unless that hospital gives money to a Planned Parenthood or a facility that kills babies that is not on the hospital premises. If the hospital takes some of the money that they get and gives it to that clinic over there, well, no, the hospital can't get money. But if the hospital just keeps all the money and uses it itself, even if that hospital kills babies, no problem. So when you look at what this bill is and is not doing, it's basically saying this is all we can get. We're not going to take money away from hospitals that kill babies. We're going to still let babies be killed who were conceived by rape and incest. We're not going to stop the federal government from giving money to clinics all over the country when they disperse birth control to minors, often some of whom are involved in criminal acts of statutory rape, the victims of criminal acts of statutory rape. We're not going to deal with any of that. So the question is, will this Congress have the moral fortitude even to pass this? Even to pass this? When we come back, I'm going to do a quick Civics 101 lesson, and I had a chance interview with the Congresswoman from Washington, D.C., Eleanor Holmes Norton. It was kind of funny. You'll get a kick out of it. Don't go away.
If my cloud has a silver lining, it's only to store electricity for the lightning.
Moments with Moses. And you shall perish among the nations, and the land of your enemies shall eat you up.
Welcome back to the program, friend. It is I, your servant Randall, with Dr. Alan Keyes, paying yet another visit to the doctor. Dr. Keyes, thank you.
How are you?
Now, most of you don't know your American history very well. You don't know that people risked their lives crossing the Atlantic, and then risked their lives crossing the Allegheny, and then risked their lives crossing the howling Midwest and even the Rocky Mountains so that they could get a pension check in old age, free medical care, and yes, if necessary, food stamps on the high plains. The high plains drifter was really looking for food stamps. Yes. True or false?
Oh, well, I think that's pretty clearly untrue. What folks were actually looking for in all of those cases was an opportunity to live their lives first in accordance with their consciences, and second in accordance with their abilities, so that they would be able to produce a result that was commensurate with what they were willing to invest. And a lot of times they did so in the face of tremendous obstacles.
Many of them died.
Reasonable certainty that they wouldn't be able to achieve all they wished to achieve. And I think that it was a hard life, therefore. That doesn't necessarily mean that we shouldn't be trying to, take advantage of our knowledge, our technology, our economic organization to do this and that. But it means that the basic premise of our way of life is not dependence on the government. That the meaning of American independence wasn't just that our nation would be independent in the international arena, but that we would allow people to approach their lives in a way that respected their capacity to take responsibility for their own lives, for their own families, and to do so in a way in which the government would be, as it were, a collective instrument intended to facilitate the ability to do that without interference from crooks who were going to cheat you and rob you and kill you, and in a context where
But they say they're going to take care of
do
me.
what was appropriate to develop the common resources of the people, but that you would not be burdening them with government control. And I think that's what it was about.
Tell us about the strength of a socialist plantation. There's got to be a lot of good there.
Really? No, I don't. I really don't. It's as if you were going to tell me that if we have a situation where we're willing to limit the potential of each individual, then when we add it all up, we're going to get a result that reflects greater potential on the whole. And I think that's false. I think in point of fact, the key secret that has, even in physical science, unleashed the greatest potential energy that the world has ever known was the ability to unlock the energy and potential in each and every atom, each and every individual. What we had in America in economic terms, in terms of our social progress and development, was the equivalent of that insight about nuclear power, only it was implemented in political terms. We were going to unlock the power of the individual. But not the power of the individual understood as some unruly power to go any way you please, which would be dissipated without purpose. But the ruly power, because it was under the rule of a moral conscience, a moral understanding, a moral discipline, that would then channel that energy according to the individual's responsible choice, but in a way that then helped to produce a good result for the family and the community.
And their giftings, a natural aristocracy. So tell me, there's people right now, there's a lot of good Tea Party people who think they're part of the Tea Party movement, and they are sick in their soul with fear. They need an inoculation against the fear of saying Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, food stamps, just to start with those, that we have to phase them out and literally be done with them. Inoculate the fear factor.
Let me make a suggestion. Because I think one of the things that we tend to do sometimes is we will focus on what the bad guys have done wrong and say we must be against that. And I think that we'll take care of that if we start focusing on what we need to do right. Who has the first responsibility to take care of children?
Parents.
Parents. Who has the first responsibility to take care of aging parents?
Children.
That means that the responsibility that we're claiming falls on the government through Social Security actually falls on the family system.
That's right.
That suggests that you want to take an approach that's going to guarantee families' control of their income. That, by the way, would start by abolishing the federal income tax. That you are going to have an environment in which instead of taking away the surplus that people can earn, you let them hold on to it, save it, invest it in a way that they can build up real resources for their future. The more you structure your approach to emphasize what needs to be done, to empower families, to empower morally so that they again take seriously their obligation to care for one another within that family context. At some point, as you're thinking that through, you wonder, well, why would I want to hand off money to the government to do what we can perfectly well do for ourselves if we've built up the right approach in terms of strengthening the family? The same is true, by the way, I think, of rediscovering the fact that in addition to the family system, What other institution is supposed to have the key concern for the welfare of individuals? When people are hurting, when they're hungry.
church.
The church.
Yeah.
And therefore, instead of all of this junk about how, oh, well, we can't get involved with churches and separation of church and state, and all this junk that was meant to discredit the churches, we need to start rebuilding our respect for the key social responsibility of the church, which is not to support the government spending of money on people, but instead to support real works of charity that involve committing your own time and effort and energy and money. But you're not going to be able to do that if the government doesn't let you control that money. Getting us back to the point that one of the most pernicious things that needs to be undone so that we can once again release the power of the individual is we've got to get rid of the government's control of our income and give it back to individuals and families and communities.
We're going to talk about that tomorrow. Ladies and gentlemen, all I have to say is this. I'm healed! I'll be right back. Thank you, Dr. Keys.
Moments with Moses. The Lord will make the pestilence cleave to you until he has consumed you off the land which you are entering to take possession of it.
There are two places where socialism will work. In heaven, where it is not needed, and in hell, where they already have it. Sir Winston Churchill.
Welcome back to the program, friend. Hope you enjoyed that segment with Dr. Alan Keyes. Remember, go to terrycast.com, click on the donate button for the fur coat contribution. It's cold out here. All right, in a minute I'm going to run the Eleanor Holmes Norton interview for you, but I want to first wrap up the civics lesson about spending. All spending bills originate in the House of Representatives. For your money, my money to be spent, it originates in the House. The Senate doesn't have the authority to create a spending bill. It's got to originate in the House. That's number one. Number two, Mike Pence's alteration does not have a sponsor yet in the Senate. So here's what's going to happen, and I want you to listen closely so that you know how to fight this if it matters to you. Number one, we've got to get John Boehner and the leadership of the GOP to say we're going to do exactly what Pence said. Even though it's kind of anemic, it's better than nothing, all right? I'm hungry, I'll take the crumbs. That's number one. Number two, if the Senate does not have a sponsor and it doesn't pass in the Senate, in other words, they still are funding Planned Parenthood with their version of the bill, then it goes to a thing called a conference committee, where members of the Senate and members of the House get together and hammer it out so that they have the exact same bill. The bills have to be identical for them to pass in both houses and then be signed by the president. So we need to tell the House members, we need to lobby them and say, we don't care what the conference committee does. Do not vote for a bill that has a penny for Planned Parenthood, according to Mike Pence's bill. That's what it's going to come down to. Can we put enough pressure on the congressmen that they view this as a hill to take a stand on, and if necessary, to die on, to hold the entire budget hostage until Planned Parenthood is defunded? All right, we'll continue more with this tomorrow. First, quick interview with Eleanor Holmes Norton, just for kicks and giggles. I love you when you appear, by the way, on, what's that crazy man's name on Comedy Channel?
Colbert.
Colbert. All right. Stephen Colbert, what do you think about him?
Oh, Colbert?
Yeah.
Well, Colbert won't be able to derive much humor out of this, although he's made a lot of fun out of a lot of members of the Congress, and especially me. We need somebody to cheer us up now, though.
This is a sad day. You had a Republican run against you in the general election. I think she got 5 or 6% of the vote. What did you think about all that?
She ran in a very incendiary campaign where she used deformed fetuses because of my pro-choice stance. And isn't it interesting? I think I won by over 90% of the vote. My people even a lot of them are not pro-choice. My people take that kind of stuff and turn it back on people who spew it forward. And I think the American people will have the same response to somebody who, whether he felt deranged or mentally disturbed or not, who takes out his political views by shooting a member of Congress. I think people will be in complete denunciation of it, and I think they will expect us to behave differently.
Thank you for your time.
Surely.
In return for my love, they accuse me. even as I make prayer for them. So they reward me evil for good and hatred for my love.
Patrick Henry said, "For my part, whatever anguish of spirit it may cost, I am willing to know the whole truth, to know the worst, and to provide for it." The truth of the matter is that H.R. 217 is a good first step. It's a little anemic, but we're going to have to put pressure on Congress even to pass this. So friends, get ready to rumble.